I discovered who my husband's affair partner was, Amelia Finch, and learned the best way to catch a cheater is to trap them in their favorite restaurant. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I did something worse. I found the number on the phone bill, got a name, tracked her husband, Thomas Finch, on LinkedIn, then turned my husband's supposed secret weekly lunch with Amelia into a double date. I lured Thomas to the Capitol Grill under false pretenses, watched my husband sit down with his mistress, and then walked over to their table with her husband. What's the one thing a cheater fears more than being caught? Seeing the betrayal reflected in the eyes of the other victim. You know that moment when you realize your husband's working late wasn't about closing deals, but about opening someone else's bedroom door? Yeah. Well, apparently I was the only one not invited to that particular house showing. Hi, I'm Quinn Carmichael. And if you think finding your husband's affair partner on LinkedIn was awkward, wait until you hear about the dinner party I threw to introduce her to her own husband. Spoiler alert, it wasn't a potluck. It all started on a Tuesday in March because, of course, life-changing disasters always happen on the most mundane days. I'm 38, been married to Robert for 12 years, and up until 3 weeks ago, I thought our biggest problem was him leaving his dirty socks next to the hamper instead of in it. Turns out dirty laundry was just the tip of the iceberg. I should have known something was off when Robert started dressing like he was auditioning for a cologne commercial. This is a man who considered khakis fancy pants for 12 years, and suddenly he's wearing designer shirts that cost more than our monthly grocery budget. When I asked about it, he said he wanted to elevate his professional image. Professional image? My foot. The only thing he was elevating was someone else's heart rate. The red flags started piling up faster than Amazon packages during the holidays. Late-night client meetings at restaurants I'd never heard of. Weekend property viewings that somehow never resulted in listings. And my personal favorite, the sudden interest in self-improvement podcasts about being your authentic self. Nothing says midlife crisis like a 41-year-old real estate agent discovering authenticity through adultery. But here's where it gets interesting. I'm not just any wife. I'm a marketing director at one of Atlanta's top firms, which means I have access to tools that would make the FBI jealous and a suspicious mind that's been professionally trained to spot inconsistencies. When Robert started acting shady, I didn't cry into my wine glass. I opened up my laptop and got to work. First stop, his phone bill. It's not snooping when it's literally your account. And holy moly, what a gold mine that was. Hundreds of texts to a number I didn't recognize. Calls lasting 45 minutes to an hour, right around the time he was supposed to be showing properties. A quick reverse phone lookup gave me a name, Amelia Finch. A LinkedIn search revealed that Amelia Finch, 34, is an interior designer with her own boutique firm. Her profile picture screamed, I definitely steal other people's husbands as a hobby. But wait, it gets better. Amelia is married to Thomas Finch, a graphic designer who, according to his Instagram, has the unfortunate face of someone who definitely didn't see this coming. Now, here's where most wives would confront their cheating husbands with tears, but I'm not most wives. I've spent my entire career crafting campaigns that get people's attention. And honey, I was about to launch the marketing campaign of my lifetime. The plan started forming faster than you could say home wrecker. Robert and his little interior decorator had a routine. Every Thursday at 12:30, they'd meet at the Capitol Grill downtown Atlanta. The Capitol Grill, because nothing says, I'm destroying my marriage like overpriced steaks. Look, if you've ever had a secret kept from you, you know how important it is to find out the truth. Don't let the algorithm keep this truth from others. Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications so you're always in the loop. If you skip this, it's like letting the cheaters win. Don't let them win. Subscribe. I needed to meet the other victim. Thomas Finch worked at a creative agency about 10 minutes from my office. I spent a week crafting the perfect email, professional, intriguing, and completely innocent. I suggested we meet for lunch to discuss the project. And where did I suggest we meet? You guessed it, the Capitol Grill on a Thursday at 12:30. The beauty of this plan wasn't just the confrontation, it was the complete and utter public humiliation that would follow. Take away the secrecy, and suddenly it's not so exciting anymore. The week leading up to Operation Family Reunion, yes, I named it, was like preparing for the Olympics of passive-aggressive warfare. And let me tell you, I was going for the gold. Thomas responded to my email within 2 hours, which told me he had absolutely no idea his wife was playing interior decorator with my husband's feelings. His response was professional, enthusiastic, and heartbreakingly innocent. Meanwhile, at home, Robert was putting on an Academy Award-worthy performance as the devoted husband. He even brought me flowers. The irony was so thick you could cut it with the steak knives at his favorite cheating spot. "What's the occasion?" I asked. "Can't a man buy his beautiful wife flowers just because?" he replied, flashing that smile that now just made my eye twitch. "You've made it this far, so you clearly crave justice. But did you know that most people who watch this video never subscribe? That means this story of righteous vengeance could disappear forever. Don't let that happen. Click subscribe now, prove you stand for truth. Or just hit the comments and tell me why you're a fence-sitter." The mental gymnastics this man was doing could qualify him for Cirque du Soleil. But the universe has a sense of humor. The day before our scheduled introduction, Robert came home and essentially told me about his affair, disguising it as a work story. "You'll never believe what happened today," he said. "The seller's interior designer was there doing the staging. Turns out, she knows exactly how to make a space feel more intimate." I nearly spit out my Chardonnay. "Maybe we should hire her for our place sometime," I suggested. Robert nearly dropped his drink. That night, as Robert slept peacefully next to me, I finalized my preparations. I spent an hour getting ready for what I'd started thinking of as my debut performance. I chose the kind of outfit that said successful businesswoman rather than scorned wife planning revenge. At 11:45, I was driving toward downtown Atlanta and toward the moment that would either vindicate 12 years of marriage or confirm that I'd wasted the better part of my 30 seconds. I arrived at 12:15. Early enough to observe, late enough to make an entrance. The hostess led me to a table with perfect sightlines to the corner booth where Robert and Amelia conducted their little matinee performances. At exactly 12:25, Robert walked in, right on schedule. He looked around nervously, which was new. The irony wasn't lost on me that I was sitting 20 feet away from my husband, waiting for another man to join me for lunch, and Robert had absolutely no idea. At 12:28, Thomas Finch walked through the door. His handshake was firm, his eye contact direct, and his "thank you for meeting me" was so sincere it almost made me feel guilty about what I was about to put him through. Almost. Pause for a second. Imagine you're Thomas, sitting innocently, about to have your world rocked. The suspense is killing you, right? If you don't subscribe now, you're robbing yourself of future suspenseful stories like this. Don't risk missing out on the next big reveal. Subscribe. Tell me in the comments if you would have waited for Thomas or just gone straight to the booth. "My wife's always talking about how they have the best business lunch atmosphere in the city," Thomas told me. "Your wife has good taste," I said, glancing toward Robert's booth just as Amelia made her grand entrance. She swept in like she was walking a red carpet. Robert's face lit up like a Christmas tree. "Excuse me," Thomas said, interrupting my surveillance, "but isn't that my wife?" "Yeah, that's Amelia. What a coincidence. She must be here with a client," I replied casually. He was already starting to wave at her. I realized I had about 30 seconds. "Thomas, wait." I placed my hand gently on his arm. "The man your wife is having lunch with. That's my husband, Robert Carmichael. And this isn't a business meeting." I watched the color drain from Thomas's face. "Are you saying that they're having an affair?" he asked. "For at least a month, probably longer. Every Thursday 12:30, this exact table," I confirmed. "But she said she was meeting a client." He stammered. "Weekend consultations with married men tend to be that time-consuming," I noted. "You've witnessed the setup, now the payoff is coming. If you don't subscribe right this minute, you might forget about this channel and never hear the satisfying rest of the story. Don't let your curiosity go unfulfilled. The universe rewards subscribers who stick around for justice. Smash that subscribe button. You orchestrated this entire meeting just to expose them," Thomas finally said. "I simply arranged for the right people to be in the right place at the right time. Now, Thomas, we're going to walk over to that booth. And I'm going to introduce you to your wife's lunch companion." He straightened his shoulders. "Let's go meet my wife's new friend." Walking across that restaurant felt like the longest 20 feet of my life. Robert saw me first. His eyes went wide, his mouth dropped open, and his face turned a shade of red that perfectly matched the wine he'd ordered. Marla was mid-sentence when she noticed Robert's sudden paralysis. And the real magic happened when she saw Thomas standing next to me. "Well, well, well," I said, sliding into their booth uninvited. "What a delightful coincidence running into you two here." Thomas remained standing, towering over the table. "Robert," I continued, my voice dripping with fake sweetness, "I'd like you to meet Thomas Finch." "Thomas, this is my husband, Robert." Robert managed a weak handshake. "And Marlowe, I believe you already know Thomas. You know, your husband." The silence that followed was so complete you could have heard a breadcrumb drop. "Jasper, what are you doing here?" Marlowe finally managed. "Having lunch," Thomas replied calmly. "Business project," I explained. "I need a graphic designer. And Thomas comes highly recommended. Although, now that I think about it, I should probably ask you both for references." Robert finally found his voice, though he used it to say possibly the stupidest thing in the history of stupid things. "Quinn, what are you doing here?" "Having lunch with Thomas." "What are you doing here, Robert?" "Marlowe," Thomas spoke up. "I am curious about these Thursday projects, especially since you told me you were working with a new female client who needed help with her master bedroom." The master bedroom comment hit like a nuclear bomb. "I can see why you'd specialize in master bedrooms," I said to Marlowe. "Most interior designers don't sleep with their clients' husbands." The truth came flooding out in all its ugly glory. "How long?" Thomas asked quietly. 6 weeks, I answered, since they seemed to have forgotten how to speak. 6 weeks, Thomas repeated, mentally reviewing the past month and a half. "Perhaps we should take this somewhere more private," Robert suggested. "Oh no," I said firmly. "I think this is the perfect place for this conversation. After all, this is where you two decided to conduct your relationship. It seems fitting that it should end here, too." Thomas stood up abruptly. "I need some air," he announced and walked away. "You've witnessed the entire public takedown. You saw the cheaters squirm. If you enjoyed this moment of pure satisfaction, you owe it to yourself and this channel to hit that subscribe button now. Don't be that person who watches the drama and then slinks away silently. Subscribe for more justice or tell me in the comments which part made you want to clap your hands." "Congratulations," I told them. "You've officially destroyed 2 marriages in the span of 1 lunch. That might be some kind of record." "Enjoy your lunch," I told them. "I hope it was worth it." And with that, I walked away, leaving my cheating husband and his mistress to deal with the wreckage of their choices, the stares of an entire restaurant, and a check for 2 meals they probably couldn't even taste anymore. 8 months later, I'm sipping coffee in my newly redecorated home office and reflecting on how dramatically life can change. Robert moved out 3 days after our public confrontation. The divorce was finalized last month, and having concrete evidence of infidelity makes property division negotiations significantly more favorable. Turns out judges don't look kindly on husbands who spend marital assets on romantic dinners with other people's wives. Who knew? But here's the really interesting plot twist that even I didn't see coming. Thomas called me 2 weeks after the restaurant incident, not to yell, but to thank me. Amelia's cheating was just the tip of the iceberg in what he described as a toxic marriage. While Robert was just a garden-variety cheater, Amelia was operating at a whole different level of manipulation. Thomas and I started meeting for coffee once a week, initially as a support system. What struck me most was his incredible talent. The photography portfolio Amelia had convinced him was not commercially viable was exactly what my marketing firm needed. 6 months later, Thomas became my company's official head of visual content. Watching Thomas rediscover his confidence was like witnessing someone learn to breathe again. We were both healing, both rebuilding, and somewhere in that process, friendship evolved into something deeper. Last month, Thomas and I moved in together. We host dinner parties where guests actually enjoy each other's company. Now, if you'll excuse me, Thomas is making dinner, and we have a photography exhibition to plan. Turns out life gets remarkably easier when you're partnered with someone who actually wants to see you succeed. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't getting even, it's getting better.